Hey everyone. Today I'm going to kind of go through just a tip for the Spectralis 2 in case you have one or are interested in this. So, what I'm going to go over is basically showing you how to get six polyphonic parts um, when you're sequencing external gear with the Spectralis. Um, if you're unfamiliar with the Spectralis, what you have is um, right here you have the analog synth, which is actually digital, but it goes through analog filters, and that's on part 12. And you can set up to three monophonic parts with the four oscillators that you have. So you're able to have one oscillator on the first part. You could use two oscillators on the second and then one on the third. And you can have them going through different filters, the low pass or the multi-mode or the filter bank. Now, I've already set all of this up. I believe I have other tutorials that kind of go through this. Well, and then you also have the Dsynth parts, which would be synth 1, 2, and 3, and those are your sampled sounds that you put into the Spectralis, and those are polyphonic. Now, if you wanted to sequence other external gear, I have my Virus TI right next to me, and I'll click on synth 1. Now, if you have part selected, just select and then hold shift and then the button for synth 1, you'll see that you can direct the MIDI to external gear. Now, I already have it set to 1, so the channel that it's getting sent to is my virus. So you can actually hear if I play some notes that it can sequence polyphonic gear. And so I could record that as a motif, um, and do whatever it is you would do with that. Now you could do that for synth part 2 and 3. You can also do that with your drums as long as you hold shift and then the part, you'll get to MIDI definition and you can define that. So what I'm going to show you is that now that would be three parts that you can sequence externally. But you can actually do three more with the asynth part in case, let's say, you just want to sequence other gear or you're using all four oscillators on only one of the three parts or the three trigger groups that you'd have. So you could just have it on one here. So I'll show you. I actually have it already routed so that on each of the three parts, there's different sounds that will be played just to show you that how it works. So you'd go to select and then hit, if you hold analog synth down, you'll see that it says part 12, 13, and 14, and these are referring to the three different trigger groups. So if we're in the analog synth part, we can go to set routing, and I have on page 1 of 3, VCO1 is trigger group 1, VCO2 is trigger group 2, VCO3 and 4 are on trigger group 3. Trigger group 1 also is activating the low pass filter. Trigger group 2 is activating multi-mode, and then the filter bank is being activated by trigger group 3. So you can kind of hear. I'll exit, and so let's get to the first part, which should go through the low pass filter. I'll just play some notes. Now you can go to the next part, part 13, which would be the second one. That's going through my multi-mode filter. And you can switch which part of the filter it's going through, band pass, low pass. And then I also have the last part going through the filter bank. And if I click on filter bank, then I can adjust the individual levels. But you can tell that all of these are monophonic parts. So basically, you're able to take each of these parts. So if I click part 12 and hold shift and then the button above 12 or analog synth, oh, let me do it again. It will actually tell you MIDI redirect for part Asynth 1. Now I can redirect that to the to my virus, and you can hear that it's able to pick up all of the notes and play them back. Now we can also do that. So if we want to do that for the second trigger group or the third trigger group, which would also be, which parts would that be? That would be part 13 and 14. Just remember that to get into this dialog where you can select the different parts or trigger groups, you have to hold the analog synth button and then it'll pop up. So we can go now to part 13, which is trigger group 2. And we can hold shift and then hit analog synth. And that didn't work that time. Okay, sorry about that. I actually didn't practice this before I decided to do my tutorial, so I was a little rusty as well on how to do this. I forgot that, okay, so if you just hold shift and then press the button, it will ask you for MIDI direct for part Asynth 1. Now, so we have it set to the virus, so like I said, I'll show you that. Now, so to get to access the trigger group 2 and 3, or part 13 and 14 for the for sending MIDI data, you have to hold shift and then hold the analog, and then it will ask you which parts. So let's go to part 13. Sorry about the noise. I live with other people. Now we'll turn that off. I had the. So when we turn it on now, it will also direct to the first part. Okay. Now we can go to the third part, or part 14. I'm not quite sure why they didn't just call it trigger group 1, 2, and 3, but oh, I haven't. So you can hear that that's the monophonic part, and we'll hold shift and then hold the Asynth button and then go to part 14. Now we can MIDI direct that to channel 1. And now we've also got this part being polyphonic. So what you can do is, now that we're in the trigger group 3, we could we could record that and have a motif that is just strictly one of the 3 monophonic or one of the analog synth parts. So we can go to real time, just set it up to be 2 bars and I guess that didn't go, so I'll do it again. Well, that's why. I only made it 2 bars. We should have made it 4. Well, I'll do that first part again just to show you, so you know that it actually records. Whoops. Try it again. Apparently I'm having troubles tonight. So now you'll hear that that continues to repeat. Now we'll stop that, we'll replace the notes. And now we have on the trigger group 3 a motif that's just that part. And so we could go and select part 13, which would be trigger group 2. And we could create, and you can see we can record arm part Asynth 2. So we could have that be 2 measures as well. And then record over that. And replace that. And then we can actually do the same thing on your original trigger group 1 and record another polyphonic note, and I'll just do something higher up, but just to show that you can have now these 3 polyphonic parts that are using up the your analog synth part. Well, anyway, so that shows that in only those 3 monophonic parts typically, that what's going on is that it's clearly sending all of the MIDI notes back originally to the internal analog synth part. And that then it's, you can set the priority. That would be on page 3 of 3 in the set routing. It's trigger group note priority. It's either high, low, or last, or whatever. And so it's sending those signals back to the internal synthesizer, which is monophonic, and it will only play the highest note, despite the fact that all of the notes are getting sent. So what this means is that you're able to take those notes and now send it out to other gear if you're not going to use in this particular song the analog synth. And so it opens up and doubles the number of parts that you can do polyphonic sequencing with your external gear. So I hope this has been helpful, and please comment, let me know if you have any questions, and I will get back to you. Thank you.